introduce the topic. It's not Saturday night from New York, but kind of close to it. It's Thursday morning from New York and the world. I'm Elie Noam, the director of the Columbia Institute for Teleinformation, which manages for IMMAA, the International Media Management Academic Association, these monthly webinars in media management. And so we're a mix of academics, business school types, consulting types, as well as practitioner types who will give us the perspective from their industry, so we in academia can actually know what's going on and impart it to our students. Today's topic is influencer marketing, and in thinking about the topic, it occurred to me who exactly are influencers, and we have observed the phenomenon that some people have almost 500 million or more than 500 million followers, sports stars such as Messi and Ronaldo, celebrity, performance entertainers, Selena Gomez, more kind of general kind of celebrity types, Kyle Jenner. So these are kind of people with huge numbers, and perhaps they should be put more into the category of celebrity endorsement, something that goes back to easily 19th century, where advertising started, and it was kind of accompanied by endorsements by some famous, well-known people to give it trust, to give the product credibility, to get it perhaps noted, and that's been going on so easily for 150 years. There's nothing new about those celebrity endorsements. What I think is new here now is that we have influencers who less kind of already famous in advance, but that perhaps become famous through their personality, through their attractiveness, and through their engagement, active engagement with their followers. So they're not just somebody who's already known and then passes this on as a product endorsement, but they create content. And they're in touch with their followers. They create more of a community, and they're also perhaps less image conscious. A star and a celebrity has to carefully consider their own image when they're engaging, their overexposure, their credibility, how this fits with markets and so on. And so there are differences, although they tend to be a bit of the line is blurry. And so we have therefore a particular interest in hearing what it is like from the business perspective, the marketing perspective, this new tool, not totally new, but different tool in the marketing mix. For brands and for products, new as well as established ones, the dangers thereof, such as an influencer that cannot be controlled, an influencer that perhaps becomes kind of like a liability rather than an asset, the problems of truth in advertising, the issues of liability, issues of technology, new technology, avatars, AI, etc. And for that, we will have a wonderful speaker, and I've spoken already too long. The session is organized by Francisco Rolfson Belda, and I will introduce him just very briefly. He's a journalist as well as a professor and researcher in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, in management, scientific journalism, and the use of digital media and technologies for education in local development. He holds degrees in journalism, in communication sciences, and a PhD in industrial engineering from the University of Sao Paulo. and his PhD dissertation was a structural model of educational content for interactive digital television. Interactive digital television education. All important words. He has done many things in the past, such as a journalist, been in charge of the move of a print publication into a digital platform. And so there are many things that we can tell about Francisco, but I think I want to pass this on to him as he introduces our speaker. Go ahead, Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ali. And I also want to thank Jason for hosting us and for the Columbia Institute for Teleinformation for managing this series of seminar, which is contributing a lot for our understanding of this new phenomena on media management and economics. And I also like to acknowledge the work of the International Media Management Academic Association, IMMAA, now under the presidency of Greg Lowe, in hosting this section as well. So I'm here to introduce you my dear colleague and friend, Antônio Napoli, who is one of the best experts in the country, thinking and researching and working with different strategies for media business. Antônio Napoli de Andrea Neto has been a partner and general director of Kaiser Associates in Brazil for around 20 years now, overseeing more than 800 consulting projects, not only in Brazil, but also abroad. Kaiser Associates is a global consulting firm that specializes in business transformation, focusing on strategy development, planning, organizational changes, implementation, competitive intelligence, and new market entry analysis across various industries. Napoli is also an expert in scenario planning and complex problem solving. He has been serving to major companies in Brazil, as well as government branches and media companies, and also as a professor at FIPE, which is an important educational foundation in Brazil, and also in a startup company that has increased it a lot, its participation in Brazilian market, called G4 Education. Napoli has been a board member of Fundação Getúlio Vargas Alumni Association since 2015 and joined the board of Fundação Maria Cecília Souto Vidigal in 2023, which is a foundation dedicated to supporting childhood and early stage development of children in Brazil. He is also associate and a member of PROJOR, the Institute for Development of Journalism in Brazil, where I, Francisco, also serve as a director of operations. So during the last 10 years, many of Napoli's clients have been demanding marketing strategies that include the role of influencers in their media budget shares. So we are here to understand part of his experience in this area and to hear some insights on his knowledge about the exponential growth of the influencer market. Thank you very much, Napoli, for being with us, and please be our guest. We are eager to hear from you.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here to talk a little about the influencer market. So I have some slides to show, but I will start with some definitions. So we have the celebrities. So this is nothing new. Celebrities sell lots of things because...
Kann ich Sie in einer Stunde zurückrufen? Oder...
Somebody German speaking is online here.
Okay. So starting again, when we think about celebrities, so celebrities are known as public people that sells a lot because of the influence they have. A work journey or scientific journey, the expert you can define as someone who has studied or worked in a field and is known and recognized by people because of its expertise. But influencers nowadays are someone with more than 10,000 followers in Instagram, for example. So this is the differences. The influencer can be a common people in a small city in São Paulo, for example, that has more than 10,000 followers in Instagram. And this is the new phenomena. Very common people working hard in content production or talking about their lives and becoming not very famous, but becoming known in small circles. And these people nowadays are receiving here in Brazil more than 750 million US dollars per year as advertisers. So I brought today 4 cases I will show in a few minutes, but the phenomena that is capture my attention is these nano or micro influencers that are capturing nowadays more than 5% of the media budget here in Brazil. Think about that. 5% is much more than the media budget we use in newspapers, in printed newspapers, for example. So how does this happen? I will show some slides, and if you have any questions, please feel comfortable. Just a second. I will project here. 1 second. I will share. Okay. So hope you are seeing the slides. So in total, the global market of influencer, and when we talk about influencers, not only the celebrities, but also these nano and micro influencers, is growing rapidly. This year, it will be around 24 billion US dollars. And in Brazil, we have this year $460 million is spent in nano and micro influencers, and we expect that it will double in 5 years. And this is the reason because they are important. When we ask people who are they following in the internet, friends, family, and people that we know that are near from us are more than 60% followed by someone. But after bands, singers, and musicians, influencers and experts are the third one, much more important, for example, than journalists or news companies or sports people and teams, for example. And these make us very curious about how are they, how this phenomena is happening. So when we interview, this is the Statista source, but I also work with marketing professionals. 76% of marketing professionals consider investing in influencers and micro and nano influencers too. And the most important platform for this influencer is Instagram, then TikTok, and also YouTube. This is so important nowadays. Then famous brands are considering being or having their presence in TikTok, for example. So could you imagine that someone would see Ferrari advertising in TikTok? But the reason is because when someone with more than 10,000 followers are driving a Ferrari, and appears in TikTok, it influences all the brand and all the way people are understanding products and services nowadays. So the point is also important when we think, I will go back to the presentation, when we think, just a second, just change the slide, okay. I don't know if you are seeing here, when we see about age, it's very important to see that people from 25 years and to 45 years has grown most in recent years, watching videos from people and from influencers in the internet. And these are the people with money to buy things. So, and this is the reason because the marketeers are considering most of all paying for these influencers to talk or to use some products or to talk about products. The other reason because this is growing so fast is because the Z generation is more, how can I say, they consider more the influencers as source of references to buy things or to understand things than the other generations. They grew in this market, so they use internet in the other ways than other generation uses, and influencers are sources of informations and referrals for and not so products but also information. I have here some 4 cases. Sua Cirurgia, your surgery, is a very small company that pays surgeries for small influencers in small cities, beautiful women that receives for free a surgery, plastic surgery, and go to the internet to talk about the surgery and how they are feeling beautiful after that. And these nano and micro influencers helps this company sells more than 8.5 million US dollars years in surgeries. So it's not a big company, but think about that. Just using common people with more than 10,000 followers in small cities, this company can make more than $8 million a year in surgeries. The second company I brought here is a company that helps people to work as copywriters. And the name of the company is Light Copy and uses digital marketing influencers to train other people who wants to become digital marketing influencers with copywriter techniques. This company, Light Copy, has revenues around $30 million a year, just with 4 people working, producing content and providing courses in the internet, in asynchronous. There are videos that are filmed, so they sell lots and lots of courses trying to train people to become a copywriter or a digital marketing influencer. We have also these 2 other companies. G4 Education is a company that helps entrepreneurs to learn how to manage their companies. Most of the entrepreneurs who goes to G4 Education, they have presential or courses and also online courses, and they uses the influencer market, so mentors and people who are known in business, but not very known people with around 100,000 followers in Instagram, for example, help to talk about G4 Educations, and the revenues are around $52 million a year. And the last example I brought here is Mamãe Sarada or Fit Mom. This is a kind of trainer, personal trainer online to help women that had children and don't want to go to the academy, and helping these kind of mothers on having online orientation for physical exercise. The revenues is around $15 million a year. But the most important thing here are these companies start to growing their audiences with polarization. And the algorithms are very, very good to grow audiences when you start talking about polemic things. So all these companies I've studied has a very strong and polarized political positionings just to attract people to their Instagram pages and to become more known, but not known as a celebrity. And the marketeers helps these people with some money to, or ask these people to talk about some services or some products, and they can monitor all the audiences that goes to these pages in Instagram. And the reason because the nano and the micro influencers are receiving so much money is because it's easier to follow the audience and to understand audience behavior when you plug and play with this kind of influencers. So they are not celebrities, they are not experts, they are common people. We have a forecast in Brazil that we have around 500,000 influencers working nowadays at the market. And every day, more influencers start new businesses. And they own lots of money in comparison with traditional business in Brazil that goes digital. Most of these influencers start their businesses or help businesses exclusively in the digital market. And this is the phenomena we are seeing nowadays, and it will influence or it will impact all areas: health, education, finance, and other very important areas that we never thought at the past that they will use common people as influencers to help to sell things and products and services. So I don't know if I was so fast, but I'm open here to discuss.
Yes. Sorry, Ellie, would you say
Yeah,
something?
Francisco, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Napoli, for sharing these insights with us. And I think we have now plenty of time to discuss and to address some questions to Antonio. And please feel free, all of you, to use here the hand functionality at the Zoom meeting to ask your questions. And while you think about your questions, I can start asking Antonio, if I may, how do you see the position of traditional media when dealing with influencers? Because sometimes traditional media outlets are part of the visibility for some influencers. So on one hand, they are being strengthened by traditional media when it comes to cultural celebrity coverage. And on the other hand, much of the revenue streams traditional media manage are being drained to this influencer market. So how are media business dealing with the rise of influencers in their industries?
I believe there is two markets here, Belda. One very fragmented market of these influencers that the traditional media doesn't pay attention because they are too small, but they are 20% of the media budget for in all companies. The point here is they are very think about that I will put 5% of the whole budget of publicity in Brazil in 500 micro nano influencers. And that goes under the radar or under the traditional media that are not paying attention on that. So this is one point. But the other
Yeah.
I think
point is
Antonio got frozen.
some these. Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Tony, we
would-
lost you for a few seconds. If you
Oh, sorry.
can resume your thought in the part that you're saying that there is another influencer market beside that one that media business don't pay that much attention to.
Yeah, this is a very fragmented market with 500,000 influencers in Brazil, but they are capturing 5% of total budget. And this is what is important because they tend to be far away from the big media companies. And they are very happy being small until they start growing fast. So some influencers grows to, for example, 100 million US dollars as revenues. And this is the cap I've seen. They cannot grow more than that. The reason is because it's a kind of limitation of the bubble or the tribe or the number of people that can reach. So there is a cap when you think about growing these micro and nano influencers. To grow more than that, they have to become more famous. And the only way is to become celebrities in the traditional media. But they are very happy working and having revenues around $100 million per year. So this is not so bad for companies or for influencers having help from 10 people at least, not more than that. I believe I'm frozen again.
Are there any other questions? That is, Francisco, do we see any
I'm
hands
back.
up?
My hand is up.
Yes, Bill Drake, please.
Hi. This is very interesting. Thank you. You mentioned algorithms and polarization. You know, we just had an election here in the US, so I can't help wondering about influencers in that context. In your work, do you look specifically at the market dynamics for political social influencers as opposed to those who are peddling goods and services, like how their brands are grown, how material is monetized, how advertising is attracted? So, I mean, are there distinctive set of issues for people who are working in that realm as opposed to those who are selling cosmetics and travel and whatever other kind of crap? Or does it all kind of blur into the same kind of set of mechanisms and dynamics? Thanks.
I will tell a case, Bill, a real case. So one guy from G4 Education, this education company for entrepreneurs, goes to Instagram and he said that he would never marry a woman CEO because the place to women are to be at home, not in companies. And so the guy exploded in audiences. He reaches at that day 20 million people. And I was inside the company seeing the effects of that. And their sales grew 200% in that day. Because although he reaches 20 million people, maybe 19 million people with disagreeing what he was talking about, he could, using this kind of strategy, find 1 million new customers. So when you polarize, you spread your image all over the world. So, and then you can reach new targets and new markets. And this is the reason because polarization grew so fast, because it sells. It sells. You can reach more and more people when you talk shit. Sorry but if you talk shit most of the time, you can reach millions and millions of people. And maybe in the middle of these millions of people are some customers that agrees with you and will buy your products with more engagement because they are polarized than if normal people. So Bill, it's a lot of money, and polarization sells a lot. And I see not one, but more than 10 cases like that in the back office. And this is the reason because polarization grew so fast, because it makes so much money, more than we can expect.
And Napoli, what can you say about influencers addressing political subjects using this polarization strategy to get votes and not sell products?
So to get votes, it depends on which kind of election, because in Brazil we have two kinds of elections. We have, like United States, a presidential election. So polarization reaches more people than working without polarization. So it's a matter of audience, Belda. It's not about politics only. Polarization is good for having more audience. This is the reason, because it works. And it's not because of the content you put on that. So there are some micro and nano influencers in Brazil that talks shit all the time just to be known, knowing that the image is not so good for them, but knowing at the same time that they will reach more people and they will can make more money with, for example, simple products like courses or like cosmetics or like things like that. This is incredible. People doesn't judge the content, but in internet, people, when they reach more people, the probability to find new customers is so much bigger than they risk to have strong positions in all arguments just because of that. So politics is a very good argument to sell things. Being polarized in the internet is not so good for politics, but is good for businesses. This is my conclusion in the back office of these companies.
So the more controversial you get, more
More
impact.
audience, yes. More clients you will have, more high tickets you can ask. So I was wondering if it would, for example, stop in some moments, but they make so much money, they cannot stop doing this kind of things.
Yes. Bill Drake is contributing to this discussion, and I will also ask Ilian Alagi to wait a little bit to move to the next question from her, which is posted in our chat. But sticking to the subject that we are talking about, Bill has typed, but there is also some constraint if advertisers don't want their stuff next to talking shit. So how to manage the pursuit for impact with these other constraints that can arise from controversial debate?
Yeah, they select the advertisers that agree with the shit they are talking, Bill. This is simple as that. It's incredible, but it's very simple. There is no kind of reflection in the mind of these entrepreneurs. They are only taking a look in audience and which kind of advertisers would I engage in my speech, and they can find. So there are advertisers that sells more with shit talking than others. So incredible, but this is the reality we've seen here in Brazil.
Thank you, Napoli. I'm gonna read the question submitted by our colleague Ilian Alagi, the former president of IMMAA, here in our chat. I'm reading now. Thank you for your talk and for sharing these insights. Brazilian influencers have embraced the metaverse, gaining recognition for their smooth transition to VR, virtual reality platforms, and the metaverse. Several have launched a business leveraging their influence and fame. Can you share any insights, Napoli, into this phenomenon and how influencers' roles are evolving in the era of the metaverse and AI?
The most important point here is not AI or the metaverse. The point is nowadays, all brands have a face. It's quite impossible to see new brands appearing here in the market without a face of something like human. So AI helps to build this face and prevents you to be dependent on one real person. But the point is, we need nowadays, when we think about this influencer market, all the companies are trying to asking here in Brazil, which kind of face should I put representing our brands? So at the past, you see very strong brands like Coke or Unilever or products, but nowadays you have to see products or a brand and also a face like a human face or likewise a human face. And this is how AI are being used nowadays as a way to produce or to create faces for companies. So, and preventing you to be dependent from someone real and to have to pay for that. So.
I have a question if nobody else has.
We do have a question from Jason in our chat. So I'm going to read Jason's question, and after that we can move to Ali. Jason is asking, Jason Buckwitz, what about the strain put on the lives of the influencers? The fact that they are constantly, they do constantly have to live their lives worrying about being canceled and losing endorsements. How do these private people manage their role as an influencer, combined with their personal lives and the strains that their lives are affected when they are engaged in a controversial campaign, for instance?
Most different than people believe, cancellation is a very quick phenomenon. People are canceled, but in 1 or 2 weeks they are back again. So, and we are so real time in everything we've made, and we have virtually little memory about what things happen. That in the case of this guy from G4 Education that I told Bill. So this guy was canceled the next week, but the other week he was back again. With some women that agree with them that women, the place of women were not to be in companies like CEO. So it's very interesting because cancellation is something important when someone is a celebrity and then can lose lots of money losing contracts. But when you think about micro and nano influencers, cancellation is a fact, and they after they being canceled, they wait 1 month and they come back because being known is more important than being canceled. And this is what I've seen. But in the private life, these people loses all the privacy, and everybody I know and I work with have very serious emotional and psychological problems. These people changes identity, so they start living in the metaverse as in a real life, and everything they do or they eat or they experience, they are filming. So it's very common. You are talking with these guys, and there is a young or a very young media producer with a cell phone filming everything you are talking about. So, and if you are eating, if you are walking, there is someone filming you or producing media about everything you've done, and they make things here which we call here the cuts. So they put like a competition of cuts of the films to see which cut makes more audiences all the time. And this is very interesting. Personally, they are very problematic people because they lose privacy, they lose emotional stability. and they become very dependent on being seen at the internet. But the most important thing here is the money. They start living with more money than they never seen before, and they don't want to lose that. But they don't understand, in fact, what make them famous or micro famous. So they have to try. It's a trial and error every day to see which kind of post or which kind of word, should I say, to become with more audiences or less. So they try and error all the time to see that. So, and there is here what kind of predominant demographics of micro-influence. We have everything you can imagine. Old people, young people. I had a client with cancer. He had 6 months of life ahead, and he starts filming his life, and he could reach 1 million people, showing the last 6 months of their life, and make lots of money talking about products for health. So, but we can also see very old women working with cook. So everybody that at some time becomes micro famous with more than 10,000 influencers can become this kind of people. It's a phenomenon that is above the ages and above the generations. So is the incentive is to become a micro influencers. Money incentives are so high when they became little famous, that changes the life of lots of people. But in fact, they don't know what they're doing right. They know that they are doing something that make him micro famous, and the money finds him or them, and then start living in a kind of dopamine excitement, and they try using trial and error become famous most of the time, daily, all the time, day and night.
Oh, Ellie?
Yeah, I can relate to what you just said about the people and the personality. In my own family, I have a influencer. She's 17 years old in high school. She just graduated from high school, and she has 100,000 followers on some kind of cosmetics type stuff. And she lives and dies for that. Okay, this is her thing.
Yes.
Okay, now. My question though is about the kind of, in a way, the economics of all this. Do we actually know, not episodically, but in a systematic way, that this actually works, as opposed to just being another shiny tool, new tool? So, for example, when Ilham mentioned the metaverse, so companies positioned themselves on the metaverse partly. And as far as I can tell, economically, it made absolutely no direct sense. They had no real sales, but it was some kind of a brand building notion of, in a way, we are up to date, we are hip, we can relate to young people in particular. So we're kind of like with you, as opposed to actually direct sales impact. And that works only for a while until the next new shiny thing comes along. And so the question here is this just something that comes and goes like a kind of one-day wonder type, one-hit wonder type in music? So that's one question, and it's related to a related question, namely, you mentioned that there's a lot of money for the performers, for the influencers,
Yes.
and I use the word performers consciously. For the influencers, there's money there, but where there's money there, particularly for young people, obviously there will be an increase in supply, and then possibly an oversupply. So how can this actually, that market, be not being flooded with influencers? That in effect kind of depreciate each other's value, because if there's a million influencers and only 1 million viewers, how effective can this still be?
I worked sometime at the past with comics, helping comics publishers to see which kind of comics would be successful in the ages. So there is a term that we use in comics, these evergreen brands. For example, Mickey, Donald Duck is an evergreen brand. So you will ever sell Disney characters in comics over the time. But there are some kind of comics that are very successful in a short period of time and then they die and they are not evergreen. We say that. So in publishing industry, this concept of evergreen are used, and this is good for for someone who hires influencers. So there are very rapidly famous and not so famous influencers, then you use them as opportunistic. So you put little money, you make lots of sales and position yourself. But there are some influencers that are, we will say, evergreen. Through the time, they maintain their influence digitally. In Brazil, we have Felipe Neto. He's someone who started 10 years ago as content producer, and he's one of the most important content producers. So he is evergreen as a brand, a people brand like this. So it's good for someone who puts money in the influencers to have lots and lots and lots of influencers, and that someone's become instantly famous and but in 2 or 3 months is not so famous because they put money and they are not so dependent on that. So this is the differences with celebrities. You have to pay lots of money and you have to have long-term contracts and all this kind of stuff. The influencer market is a kind of spot market for advertising. And this kind of use of spot market advertising is commanded by the algorithms and not by the influencers. And if I have lots and lots and more influencers, better for someone who pays money in this kind of advertising. It's not so good for us as consumers, and it's not so good for us as citizens because of the polarization. But thinking as businesses, the digital marketing investors like that because they use these people as stuff or sources of audiences, but they are not permanently relevant. So they use this as a spot market.
I hear what you're saying, but I did not actually mean so much that the influencer have a long shelf life because they come and go, and
Yeah.
it's partly generational, and you probably don't want to, if you're a young person, you don't want to listen to your older brother's influencer. I understand that, but my question really was about the influencing as a marketing tool per se, whether
Okay.
that's just a passing phenomenon or whether, and obviously there will always be some niches, but whether in terms of mass utilization, whether that's going to maintain it, particularly in light also of the fact that there may be an oversaturation of the whole concept.
We are losing our time and space references. And this is one important thing when we think about influencer market. So because we are reacting more rapidly for stimulus, influencer become more effective when we think about performance. And this is what I'm listening from this guy. So some investments like in branding are long-term investments. So and you cannot measure the performance of a brand in terms of sales. And this is the reason because people are liking using more influencers because you can measure the performance in real time. And when you invest, for example, in a branding, so to build a brand and to become an authority for some kind of position at the market, you have to invest time, money, and you cannot say that you can measure the performance of that. So if I build a very strong brand, can you say that this brand will make me sell the double than before the brand was built? You cannot make this full correlation. So the causality exists, but it's not clear. And in the performance market, the influencer, you can say the ROI, the return over investment, is very clear, and I can measure. So this is the reason, because I believe influencer market will grow most of the time and will be more relevant than some other ways of construct audiences or to construct relevance in the market. And there are micro investing with a performance measure, and you can decide to put or not to put the money. But these traditional ways to advertise, or these traditional ways to build position and branding are very costly, and you cannot correlate the success of your business performance with this kind of investment. This is the reason people are becoming more tool-oriented in marketing age. So all the time they have dashboards. For example, if I use the kind of words in the speech of an influencer, I can correlate with the other word I use in the other city, for example, to see if they perform better or not in terms of sales and audience. I don't know if I answer your question, but this is what I'm seeing. So
I'm trying to bring this into some economic matrix here, and what you're describing in some ways is that we can't really tell, but we believe that this is going to work, maybe short term, more likely long term brand. So a question, is it the equivalent of the cost per mil in broadcasting, that is kind of like per impression? How much does it cost per 1,000 impressions to pay an influencer? And how does it compare with the other media?
they measure cost per lead, and I can tell you, for example, a $5,000 course, course costs for a digital marketing influencer $1 per lead.
It leads $1 per lead. Did we just lose our speaker?
I think he's there.
Here he is. Yes. You're muted.
Okay. One case I've seen, the G4 Education invests $1 to sell one course that costs $5,000.
And how do you think it compares in terms of return over investment with other digital marketing channels like Google AdSense or things like that?
10 times lower than Google AdSense. So if they would use traffic, paid traffic in Google AdSense, it will cost around $15, for example.
So the return is 10 times higher, right?
Yeah, more than 10 times higher. This is the reason, because they are exploding using. So, but you have to test influencers. It's like a kind of experiment. So you test 10 influencers, then you can see that this influencer brings more leads, good leads that converts in sales. So, and the cost of an influencer is very, very low in comparison with advertising, AdSense, and other kinds of things. So the science behind that is to be a good hunter of influencers. And this is not so easy to do. So you have to stay over the internet all the time, talking with our young kids. Which kind of people are you following in TikTok? Then you go there and you see there is an influencer there with more than 50,000 followers, and he's fun. So then you have to get in touch with them and start negotiating, putting money to asking him to use a T-shirt, for example. Just
Francisco?
that.
I'm curious about something because this really reminds me of the concept of, you know, I know I'm wasting half of my marketing budget, I just don't know which half concept. Um, it sounds like there's really no scientific data or background on whether or not they know whether these influencers are working or who's working, and you know, maybe I'll use this person and it works, maybe I will and it won't work, which is really odd because we're seeing this explosion in spending on it, but if they're not seeing a return, why do it? There was a famous case here in the United States where the U.S. military spent $11 million with the actor wrestler The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, so that he would do 5 branded posts, and he basically didn't do them. But what was worse about it was for the posts that he did do, they actually showed that his engagement actually caused them to lose recruits. So they spent $11 million and lost recruits. Um, why are companies still investing in this?
It's just the risky investment, but there are returns. So here in Brazil, what I've seen is only success. So they make small experiments with these influencers to see if they got traction, for example, and then they decide to do a very strong movement with them. But they measure all the time the return. So and the return they want to measure is sales, is not lead generation. So they can track the lead to the sales, the closing. They are putting lots of efforts in technology to be able to track a lead that comes, for example, in Reels, and someone talking the chat, Instagram chat. I would like to know this product or to know about this course. Then there is a machine, so there are people trying to pull the guy to the guy buys something, and they measure all this way.
Sure, but Google does the exact same thing, right? So they have their conversion metrics of click-throughs, they have their conversion metrics.
Yeah,
you know,
but is a more focused experiment than the Google, because
how so?
you make a video with some words, use a kind of 10-second speech,
Sure.
and then you measure all these 10-second speech. So with the AdSense, you click on the site, so you are seeing lots of things, and the AdSense are there. You know that you come from this page or this website, but you don't have exactly if that word works better than the others. So the copywriters, for example, try lots of phrases and lots of words in small videos, trying to track which kind of speech sells more than others.
So they're doing A/B testing.
Yeah, all the time, all the time, all the time.
Content-oriented A/B
Yeah,
test.
all the time, all the time. There is nothing that are not measured. So, Jason, is micro nano experiments all the time.
Okay.
And they don't put millions of dollars as investments. They put little. So I freeze again.
Okay, we have only 1 minute. I don't think we have enough time for one last questions, right, Ellie?
I think we're out of time. So
I'm back.
and I would like to ask Jason to give us the information about next session, if that's okay, Jason.
Sure. So our next session will be organized by Ilham and will take place on the first Thursday of December. And I'm just looking, and we'll send out the announcement shortly about that. And trying to find, I have the December 5th event will be Dr. Emmanuel Probst, global lead on brand thought leadership at Ipsos, on talking about insights from the Ipsos global trends for discussion. So again, that'll be on December 5th, so please be sure to mark your calendars.
Thank you very much, Jason, and thank you also for managing this process. And thank you very much, Francisco, for leading the discussion and organizing and connecting us with Antonio, and to Antônio Napoli. Thank you very much for enlightening us. If anything, it kind of puts this on our mental radar, kind of that issue, and because obviously everybody knows about this, but now to think about it as a process that needs to be managed and organized and financed and measured and so on. It really is a very rich area, including for marketing researchers, because the data is there often, I believe, and so it's really kind of a very good direction for people to do research on, and as it increases in its importance, it becomes even more important for researchers. Thank you very much, Antonio, Francisco, Jason, and you, the audience, for participating. See you next month.
You